down in the courtyard.
The first 911 call stamps the time, 10:05 a.m. He isn't a student. He's a visiting speaker. You probably know his name. He was a controversial voice invited to campus that day to spark discussion. Witnesses say they heard only one moment of sound, and then chaos. There is graphic video of it. Can I be more specific? Not if I want this video to get any views. Suffice to say that if you want to see it, you'll have to look elsewhere. But trust me, if you haven't seen it already, you probably don't want to. Later footage from the event would show a shadowy figure moving across the rooftop of the student center, directly opposite the courtyard stage, moments after it happened. By noon, the story had gone national. But what happened precisely when the speaker began talking about Second Amendment violence will be remembered on this campus forever. Two people, neither of whom attended UVU or had any close connection with the school, will forever be the two people most associated with this institution of higher education. This is University of Murder Season 3. What really happened at Utah Valley University? A single shot. One moment that shattered a quiet Thursday morning at Utah Valley University. Over the next few minutes, confusion would turn to panic.
Conservative activist named Charlie Kirk has been shot at Utah Valley University. All indications are that that happened. We don't know how severe the situation is, but indeed a troubling thing to hear. We're going to take some deep breaths. We're not going to go too fast because of how little we know about this.
And the campus would become the center of one of the most shocking and mysterious crimes in Utah's history. This season, we're telling the story of the sniper killing at Utah Valley University. It's a case that began with a single bullet and unfolded into a statewide manhunt. In this first episode, we'll introduce you to the university itself, the students, the campus, and the community of Orem, Utah. Then, we'll walk you through a minute-by-minute account of that day, from the first sound that froze the courtyard to the first frantic 911 call. And finally, the chaotic opening hours of the investigation, and the arrest that would send detectives in the wrong direction. Later in this series, we'll follow the manhunt, the surveillance trail, the arrest, and the bizarre story of the man accused of one of the most public killings in Utah history. Trust me, you won't want to miss that. Utah Valley University, or UVU, sits in Orem, Utah, in the heart of Utah Valley. Today, UVU is a big campus, but it has humble beginnings. Founded in 1941 as the Central Utah Vocational School, its original mission was simple and urgent: provide wartime production skills to support the nation. Over the decades, it evolved, becoming Utah Trade Technical Institute, then Utah Technical College, then Utah Valley Community College, then Utah Valley State College, before finally gaining full university status in 2008. By 2024, UVU had grown its enrollment to 46,000 students, making it the largest university in Utah measured by number of students. A significant portion are part-time students, nearly 24,521 part-time versus 20,130 full-time. Many students are non-traditional in age. While a large group falls in the typical 18 to 24 bracket, a non-trivial share is older than 25. Roughly 6,298 students are enrolled exclusively online, and many more in hybrid formats. The majority of students identify as white, with Hispanic the next largest group. It offers everything from certificates and associate degrees all the way to master's degrees. Its motto is, "A place for you." That invitation is central to UVU's identity. It aims to be accessible, affordable, and responsive to regional needs. UVU has leaned heavily into the model of engaged learning and student-faculty research. Its undergraduate research and creative works program encourages students to collaborate on real projects and publish in student journals like Intersections. The university hosts research facilities like a greenhouse, herbarium, planetarium, and a remote field station, Capitol Reef, for science inquiry. One of UVU's most striking artistic achievements is the Roots of Knowledge stained glass mural inside the Fulton Library. This work spans 200 feet in length and took over 12 years to complete, weaving together secular and sacred themes of human knowledge. UVU's athletic teams are the Wolverines, participating primarily in the Western Athletic Conference, WAC. Wrestling is a standout. The program competes in the Big 12, as WAC doesn't sponsor wrestling, and has produced multiple All-Americans, most recently in 2025. UVU's volleyball has also had success, winning conference championships and making NCAA tournament appearances. The Losee Center, located on campus, can hold approximately 8,500 people and hosts not only athletic events, but concerts and community gatherings. UVU's performing arts programs also have national recognition. The ballroom dance program is among the largest in U.S. public colleges. To understand the stage on which our tragedy plays, we must also see Orem. As of the latest census in 2020, its population is 98,129. Orem was founded and incorporated in the early 20th century, named after Walter C. Orem, an executive with the local railroad. Nestled by Utah Lake to the west and the Wasatch Mountains to the east, it borders Provo, Linden, and Vineyard. UVU is one of the city's largest employers and exerts significant influence on Orem's social, cultural, and economic life. The Orem community boasts the University Place Mall, various tech and business corridors, and cultural events such as Orem Fest remain focal points. In sports, Orem once hosted the Orem Owls in minor league baseball, indoor football teams, and the Utah Flash of NBA G League during its operation. The role of UVU and Orem is central to the story. UVU is not a small, isolated college. It's a beehive hub of education, culture, politics, and youth in Utah Valley. Its growth and mission give it levers of influence, academically, socially, and politically. Many people in the surrounding area are connected to UVU. Families, local businesses, local politics. The campus does not exist in a vacuum. So when a shooting occurs in the center of campus, in full view of students and passersby, the ripples are immediate. This is not just a murder. This is a shockwave tearing through a community that is interwoven with the university. 9:42 a.m. The morning begins like any other Thursday at Utah Valley University. Class is turning over, coffee lines spilling from the student center. In the courtyard, a small stage and sound system are being tested for a late morning event, an open-air address by the visiting speaker. 9:51 a.m. Campus security logs a noise complaint from the same courtyard. Feedback from the PA system. Nothing unusual. A student, live streaming near the fountain, catches the speaker's staff setting up a banner, bright against the winter gray. 9:57 a.m. The visiting speaker arrives from the north parking lot, trailed by 2 assistants and a campus liaison. He looks calm, even cheerful. A handful of students recognize him. A few approach for photos. 10:01 a.m. A breeze picks up across the quad. One camera operator checks a tripod facing the small stage. Overhead, the student center's glass reflects the courtyard. Dozens of moving dots. Ordinary morning rhythm. 10:04 a.m. Witnesses later recall a single sharp sound. At first, many thought it was construction noise from the nearby science building. But when the speaker collapsed, reality arrived faster than understanding. 10:05 a.m. The first 911 call. He's down in the courtyard. Dispatchers hear panic, wind, and someone shouting directions that don't make sense. Within moments, every available officer on campus is moving toward the center. 10:07 a.m. Students rush to shelter inside the student center. Doors lock automatically as the university's alert system triggers a campus-wide message. Active threat. Shelter in place. In classrooms, lights go out. Professors whisper instructions no one can hear over their own heartbeat. 10:09 a.m. 2 police units arrive from the west entrance. Body camera footage shows officers fanning out, weapons drawn, moving past frozen bystanders. The victim lies near the stage, surrounded by spilled papers and a toppled microphone stand. 10:11 a.m. A medic checks for a pulse. None. The radio crackles. Scene not secure. Possible suspect north roof of student center. 10:18 a.m. The all clear is partial. Students remain locked down. News alerts begin appearing online. Possible shooting at Utah Valley University. Parents start calling. Networks scramble helicopters.
This is CNN Breaking News.
We have breaking news to CNN. A source tells CNN that Trump ally and the founder of Turning Points USA, Charlie Kirk, was shot at an event on a college campus in Utah.
10:24 a.m. Investigators mark a single brass casing near the center fountain. 1 bullet, 1 shot. Precision, not chaos. 10:31 a.m. The lockdown continues. A witness is escorted out. A maintenance worker who swears he saw movement on the student center roof moments before the shot. Investigators note his statement. It won't be the last time they hear about that rooftop. 10:45 a.m. Doctors at Timpanogos Regional Hospital pronounces the visiting speaker dead. Cause of death? A single gunshot wound to the neck. 11:12 a.m. The first aerial footage hits national feeds. Black and white helicopter shots of police tape cutting the campus in half. To the world, the story is now official. A killing at Utah Valley University. And for the people who were there, time will forever divide into 2 parts, before 10:05 and after.
Today at approximately 12:20 Mountain Standard Time, political influencer Charlie Kirk was shot at an event at the Utah Valley University. He was taken by private vehicle to Timpanogos Hospital, where he later passed.
Within minutes of the first reports, the scene at Utah Valley University transformed from confusion to command. Patrol cars from Orem PD, Utah County Sheriff's Office, and the Utah Highway Patrol surrounded the campus. Officers from neighboring towns arrived before anyone even asked them to. Years of active shooter training kicked in like muscle memory. Within minutes, the university's emergency operations plan activated. A command post was established inside the Student Life building. Every hallway camera feed, every body cam, every radio channel fed into a single room. Outside, the courtyard became a patchwork of yellow tape and blue lights. Students who moments earlier were sipping coffee now stood in shock behind barricades, phones pressed to their ears, trying to assure families they were safe. Parents began flooding 911 with calls. Nearby schools went into precautionary lockdown. For nearly an hour, traffic on University Parkway froze in both directions. By late morning, state and federal agencies had joined the response. The FBI field office in Salt Lake City dispatched evidence techs. The ATF offered ballistic support. Even Homeland Security analysts were watching live drone feeds, unsure whether this was an isolated act or the start of something larger. On campus, rumors filled the void before facts could. Some swore they heard multiple shots. Others claimed to have seen a shooter in black on the roof. The university's first public statement arrived on social media just after 11:20 a.m. A single paragraph confirming a lockdown and asking everyone to shelter in place. It didn't mention the victim. It didn't mention death. But by then, everyone already knew. News helicopters hovered above the quad. National outlets cut into their regular programming. For Utah Valley University, the story was no longer local. It was live. and everywhere. By noon, the hashtag UVU shooting trended nationwide. Within hours, pundits, politicians, and strangers online were already arguing over causes, motives, and blame. But for those still trapped inside classrooms, the noise outside didn't matter. The only thing that mattered was the silence in the halls, and the knowledge that their campus would never be the same again. In the chaos of those first hours, one image stood out. A man on the ground, surrounded by police, wrists bound in zip ties. To the public, it looked decisive. To investigators, it was just the start of a long and uncertain process. The man taken into custody was found less than 100 yards from the scene, near the east loading dock of the student center. Witnesses said he'd been running. Others claimed he was shouting, though no one could agree on what he'd said. He matched a vague description that had already begun circulating over the police radio. Male, dark jacket, moving north, possibly armed. But when officers searched him, they found no weapon, no ammunition, not even a backpack. What they did find was a cell phone, a set of keys, and a UVU visitor's badge that didn't belong to him. Within minutes, photos of his arrest spread online. No one knew his name, but speculation filled the void. Rumors that he was an accomplice, a protester, even a rival speaker. Inside the Student Life building, officers questioned him for nearly 2 hours. He said he'd been trying to leave campus when the lockdown started. He'd panicked. He'd run. Investigators checked his story against surveillance footage, and piece by piece, it held up. He'd parked off campus, attended part of the morning setup, and then wandered toward the loading area just before the shot was fired. By early afternoon, police quietly confirmed he was not the shooter, but the damage was done. His face, frozen in that one photograph, face down on the concrete, had already gone viral. For millions of people scrolling through their phones, that was the man they saw, the man they believed had pulled the trigger. And even after his release, long after the truth came out, his name would still appear in search results alongside the words, Utah Valley shooting.
Shortly after the shooting, we did have a suspect in custody, George Zinn, but he was released from custody after we identified that he did not match the shooting suspect and was not an accurate person of interest. However, he has been booked into the county jail by Utah Valley University Police Department for obstruction of justice.
In the early hours of an investigation, truth always moves slower than rumor, and by the time truth finally arrives, rumor has already gone global. Having determined that this was not their guy, investigators pivoted fast. What began as containment now became a manhunt. To be clear, they weren't jumping into a wild goose chase across the city or state looking for the first suspicious-looking guy they could find to pin it on. The first task at hand was to gather and analyze the significant amount of available camera footage and data. Every camera feed from the student center, the courtyard, and surrounding lots was pulled and tagged for review. Drones retraced possible angles. Technicians synced phone pings from nearby towers, building a digital map of everyone who had moved through that space between 9:45 and 10:15 a.m.
So right now, law enforcement officials are incredibly focused on trying to ascertain who fired the gun that killed Charlie Kirk. They'll do that from eyewitness accounts, by using video taken by individuals at the event and other advanced technology to just try to figure out who the suspect is. And from there, whether it's searching buildings on the campus and or looking through the individual social media and tracing his or her movements, try to ascertain where this person is so that they can be apprehended and try to mitigate any threats to the public.
The pattern was revealing. Hundreds of students, staff, and visitors in motion, except one anomaly. A signal that appeared briefly on the network near the student center roof, then disappeared seconds after the gunshot. That same rooftop had already drawn attention from eyewitness accounts. Witnesses had seen the flicker of a figure moving across the edge, darting in and out of shadows. A maintenance ladder was discovered unlocked. The rooftop was an intriguing proposition. It offered a potential sniper distance, elevation, and line of sight directly to the small stage in the courtyard. Ballistics technicians quickly confirmed that the trajectory of the bullet matched that angle almost exactly.
Our teams have been analyzing the video that showed the moment that Kirk was shot. It did appear that the shot came from some elevated position. He was in a vulnerable position because there were elevated buildings around a large open grassy area that you're seeing there.
Whoever fired the shot had fired once, cleanly, from above, then vanished. For investigators, that realization changed everything. The shooter hadn't been part of the crowd. He hadn't been caught up in panic. He'd come prepared. He'd chosen his moment, and then slipped away before anyone even looked up. But here's the thing. In 2025, very little happens outside the view of some camera somewhere. And with a high-profile speaker in the courtyard, there were about as many angles of the incident as there were people in the crowd. Surveillance teams combed through hours of footage, tracing maintenance staff, contractors, anyone who might have had access to the roof. And among those logs, tucked deep in the system, they found something strange. A maintenance badge recorded as active that morning, but belonging to an employee who hadn't worked on campus in over 6 months. The first hours after the shooting at Utah Valley University were chaos. Confusion, fear, and questions only multiplied as the day went on. But once investigators realized they had the wrong man in custody, they didn't dwell on that misstep. They didn't let tunnel vision cloud their judgment. They shifted, quickly. The search for answers turned into a search for one person. Who was the figure seen on that rooftop? The one ghosting through digital footprints and camera feeds, just beyond reach. In the next episode, we'll follow the investigation as it accelerates, the manhunt that stretched from Orem across the state, and the extraordinary effort that finally led to an arrest. And later in the series, we'll turn to the shooter himself. Who was he? What was his deal? And how did he end up here? Trust me, you won't want to miss that. This is University of Murder Season 3. What really happened at Utah Valley University? If you found this story compelling, hit like, subscribe, and make sure you're following so you don't miss the next chapter when it drops.